Reminds me of a different era, both aesthetically and in life. This was my first watch, a hand-me-down from my dad. He wore it during his IBM years back in the 80s and 90s. He'd wear a dark suit, a white dress shirt, and a tie, burgundy Oxfords, and this watch. This little gold tone quartz dress watch was one of many just like it. Most affordable watch brands had some version of the poor man's Cartier tank. At 28 millimeters, it's tiny by today's standards. The original leather strap has actually held up really well considering its age. For some reason, this watch seems to eat batteries really fast, so when I'm not wearing it, I'll just leave the crown pulled out so it preserves the battery. I don't wear this watch a lot, but I'm definitely keeping it around. It reminds me of a different era, both aesthetically and in life. Like while my dad was 9-to-5ing it in corporate America before he eventually broke out to start his own company, this little Citizen tank was on his wrist and I was still in diapers. Now I have my own kids in diapers. You know, it's crazy how time just marches on. And that's what makes this watch special. In fact, I'm more fond of this watch now than I've ever been, now that I'm kind of in that same era as my dad was when he was wearing it. A quick side story. So when my dad retired from his consulting business that he started after he left IBM, me and my 3 brothers bought him a Rolex, the now discontinued 39mm Oyster Perpetual with a white dial. If he had stayed at IBM through retirement, there's a good chance that the company would have gifted him a watch. This wasn't an uncommon practice back in the day, you know, to be rewarded for decades of loyal service. They probably don't do this anymore. Anyway, my dad took a risk by leaving this kind of safe, linear career and starting his own company. It paid off, and he instilled this entrepreneurial spirit in his 6 kids. And we figured since he wasn't getting a rollie from the corporate overlords at IBM, we'd just get him one. He wears it all the time. So he gave me this little quartz beater, and decades later, I put a Rolex on his wrist. Solid trade.